Today we will start with our subject, that is the overview of what the database management system is. So why we are using a database management system? Generally what we used to do is कि जब there was an evolution of computer systems, there was no database management system to begin with. हमारे पास जो भी डेटा आता था वो हम कंप्यूटर सिस्टम में एक फाइल सिस्टम के अंदर स्टोर करते थे, एंड सडनली the cost of the computer system started to decrease because of the heavy research and other things, and then the computer system became a popular tool and a household product. Now once the availability of the system improved, also the connectivity in the form of internet and other things, the amount of data जो पहले generate होता था and the amount of data that is generated today, there was a huge difference. And then things started becoming very complex. डेटा को सर्च करना डिफिकल्ट हो गया. इन ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम, अगर आपको किसी भी डेटा को सर्च करना था तो दे वुड स्टार्ट सर्चिंग लीनियरली फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग. डेटा को कंपेयर करना इतना इजी नहीं था. एंड व्हेन द थिंग्स became so difficult, then the idea of having a management system to manage the data came into the existence. Initially, a very basic database management system appeared, but nowadays we have database management systems that are capable of managing huge amount of data, right? So to begin with, the primary objective of any data management system can be considered as storing the data. आप जो भी डेटा जनरेट करते हैं हम उस डेटा को स्टोर करते हैं. Now, how much of data is being generated in one day is something that is not even, you can say, imaginable, right? Facebook, Google, Google Maps, smart devices, satellites, everything is generated huge amount of data. Even internet, whatever we are surfing is being stored. So we need a system that is effectively able to store the data. We are able to search the data. We are able to analyze that data, and we are able to generate knowledge from that data, right? तो आजकल जब मैं डीबीएमएस की बात करता हूं या ऑथर कहता है कि व्हाट इज डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, देन इट इज नॉट जस्ट लिमिटेड टू द स्टोरेज, because the storage of the data was also possible with the file system, which is also known as the traditional management of the data. But now the database management systems have become so popular because they are able to perform operations such as fast data access, manipulation at a very minimum cost. Some of the high end uses जो मैंने आपको बताए हैं, that is effective searching, analysis and generating knowledge from it, right? So it is not possible in today's environment to survive without these powerful database management systems. So what are the basic terminologies that are related to the database management system? That's what we are going to study. Data. So whatever info, you can say, things are available, information is available, we store that in the files or in the database management system. So that particular information that we have in the raw form is called the data, right? For example, elections are happening. So how many people are voting? What are their electoral numbers, right? Your attendance, your fees details, bank details, daily how many people are depositing money, how many are withdrawing the money. So all this is called the data, which is being generated on the daily basis. Like I already said, initially the data was generated at a very low speed, so it was manageable. But nowadays it is impossible to manage the data without effective database management systems, because the searching is one of the operation which has become very expensive. For example, if I ask you to uh, uh, go and find for some person in the institute, it will be difficult, but still you will be able to manage. But if I ask you to find the information of someone in Kapurthala, it will be difficult to manage. Why? Because the data is too large. But if I give you the addressing of it, आपको बोलता हूं कि इसकी इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए और ये इसका एड्रेस है, then it will be easy. But the traditional file management system was not able to create the indexes, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं addressing. प्रॉपर सॉर्टिंग या इंडेक्सिंग नहीं कर पाते थे, जिससे सर्चिंग बिकेम इम्पॉसिबल. वो लीनियरली सर्च करना शुरू करता था, डेटा को फर्स्ट एंट्री से चेक करना शुरू करता था और लास्ट एंट्री तक कंपेयर करता रहता था. अगर मैच हो गया तो उसको लगता था कि डेटा मिल गया. बट नाउ डेज इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. इफ आई हैव 1 billion entries, then I cannot think कि I will start searching for the data in the linear fashion, right? So what is the exact definition of what is a database? Then a database is a collection of interrelated data items in the form of tables. We will study what are tables, but first of all, a database is a collection of interrelated data items in the form of tables. So what I can think of a database? Database क्या हो सकता है? For example, a college can be a database. Further, it can be divided into tables or sub databases. For example, students. Student can be a table or a student can also be a database जिसके अंदर tables हो सकते हैं. तो मैं simply बात करता हूँ कि interrelated. So when I am talking about a college, then whatever information in the tables I will have will be interrelated. For example, uh, the library, all the information related to the books, accounts, all the information related to the salary of the employees plus the fees of the students, plus all the miscellaneous things, the you can say attendance system, right? uh, Inventory. Okay, so all these are interrelated to each other. If they are not interrelated to each other, then they are not part of that database. For example, again, I am talking about a institute, a college, but then I have some information, let's say regarding, you can say election system. But what does the information related to election system has to do with the college, right? A factory, information regarding its employees. Yes, it is data, but is it related to the institute? The answer is no. So that means it is not part of that database. So what is a database? Database only talks about that data which has some kind of relationship with each other. Now that data can be stored in the form of tables, and a single database may consist of large number of tables. Like I already said, that an institute can have hundreds of tables for keeping all the information. Okay, so now we will proceed further to understand what is a table. Table किसे कहते हैं? A table is also known as an entity, and database can be called a entity set. जब हमने कहा कि database management system is a collection of tables, so that naturally means कि वो एक set है. It is a set of tables. And what is a table? Table is an entity, which means that database is a entity set. Now why are we calling a table as an entity? बिकॉज वो एक एंटिटी को या किसी थिंग को रिप्रेजेंट करता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल स्टूडेंट, स्टूडेंट इज एन एंटिटी, library is an entity, accounts is an entity, books is an entity, right? So all living thing की बात नहीं है, certain non living things, but is a process is also an entity. For example, attendance system, attendance, right? So all these are called entities. Payroll system means you can say salary of someone, उसके आगे आगे further divisions हो सकती हैं. So we started with data, all the raw information that we have. Then we have database, which is a entity set. And what is an entity? Entity is a table in which we store the information. Now what is a table? A table is a logical representation of data in the form of rows and matrices, rows and columns. तो हम लोग एक टेबल बनाएंगे, उस टेबल के अंदर जो डेटा को स्टोर करना है उसको सबसे सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म कौन सी है उसको रोज एंड कॉलम्स में डिवाइड कर देंगे. लेकिन आई रिपीट दैट दिस इज नॉट द ओनली टाइप ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेशन वी हैव. हम लोग मैट्रिक्स के अलावा क्यूब या और भी बहुत सारी फॉर्म्स में डेटा को रख सकते हैं, लेकिन जो सबसे सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म है वो यही है कि आप एक टेबल को रोज एंड कॉलम्स में डिवाइड कर दीजिए. अब समझने वाली बात यह है कि हम रोज किसे कहते हैं और हम कॉलम्स किसे कहते हैं. तो एवरी कॉलम इनसाइड अ टेबल, every column inside the table represents a attribute or a property. तो मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूं. लेट अस सपोज वी आर कंसीडरिंग a student to be our table. तो हमने एक स्टूडेंट को अपना टेबल मान लिया है. तो देन इट विल बी डिवाइडेड इनटू रोज एंड कॉलम्स. तो व्हाट इज a column? A column is an attribute or a property. So what are the attributes or a properties of a student? It can be name, roll number, program, semester, institute ID, okay, branch ID, the address of the student, the phone number of the student, the email of the student, and so on. These all are called the attributes or the properties of the table, and the name of the table is student, right? Then what does a row represent? A row in the table represents a tuple or a record. For example, if I say that the name of the student is Dinesh, roll number is 101, program is let's say BTech, semester is second, institute is IKGPTU, and so on. So this one record or a tuple that I have entered is called a row. So within a row, what I will have is one entry corresponding to each column. हर कॉलम के correspondingly एक entry होगी. For example, roll number is 101, the program name is BTech, the semester is 2. लेकिन there may be some entries which are empty. For example, if a student does not have a phone number, then we will leave the phone number empty. तो ये हम डिसाइड करते हैं कि हम कौन सी एंट्रीज को अलाउ कर सकते हैं कि वो खाली छोड़ सकता है और कौन सी एंट्रीज को खाली नहीं छोड़ सकता. अगर स्टूडेंट फॉर द टाइम बिंग कहता है कि मैं फोन नंबर नहीं है तो हम लोग मान लेते हैं. लेकिन अगर स्टूडेंट की एंट्री करनी है और वो कहे कि मेरे पास रोल नंबर नहीं है, देन इट मे नॉट बी पॉसिबल. So far, what we have studied, a table which is simplest representation is converting into rows and columns. Column represents the attributes, whereas row represents the tuple or the record. राइट. सो आई होपफुली दिस थिंग इज क्लियर टू यू. थोड़ा थोड़ा सा आइडिया लेते जाना है और आगे बढ़ना है, बिकॉज it is just an introductory lesson. So these are some of the formal definitions of what a database is. A database is a collection of interrelated or related data, and data is the collection of facts. तो डेटाबेस हो गया. देन व्हाट इज डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम? उस डेटाबेस को मैनेज करने के लिए जिस सिस्टम की हम बात करते हैं, दैट इज अ डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. so that it is easy for you to retrieve, manipulate and produce information. डेटा को फैच कर सकें, डेटा को मैनिपुलेट कर सकें, right? So we are easily able to fetch the data, we are easily able to manipulate the data, and we are also able to produce some kind of information. So I hope this thing is clear. So let's move further. कंसिडर एन एग्जाम्पल. एक एग्जाम्पल लेंगे छोटा सा. हम ऑलरेडी एक एग्जाम्पल स्टडी कर चुके हैं, तो ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे. हमारे पास एक डेटाबेस है, उस डेटाबेस का नाम है कॉलेज. तो कॉलेज के अंदर कौन कौन सी एंटिटीज हो सकती हैं, ये कुछ एंटिटीज बताई गई हैं. स्टूडेंट, फीस, अटेंडेंस, स्कॉलरशिप, लाइब्रेरी. तो ऑब्वियसली ये एंटिटीज हैं, तो दैट मीन्स दीज आर द tables, and if these are the tables then every table will have attributes. अगर मैं student entity की बात करता हूं, the student entity can have following uh, attributes: name, father name, roll number, class, address and contact. And then how can we make the entries inside the table? So ये अब आपका एक table है. Let's say that the name of the table is student record. So the name of this table is student record. How many attributes are there? Name, father name, roll number, class, address and contact number. So total of 6 attributes are there. And how many records are there? There are a total of 5 records there. One for Ajit, Sachin, Vikas, Dhruv, and the last entry is A. So this is how, in a very simple manner, we are able to store the information. Now, arranging the information in this format makes it slightly easy for us to understand. Why? What is the address of Sachin? So we will match the information with Sachin, and we will be able to find that Sachin lives in Jalandhar. Now, I want to contact Dhruv. So how can I contact Dhruv? I will be able to search the entry for Dhruv, and from there I will be able to pick up the phone number of Dhruv. So this is how the things start to work. But this is a very simple representation, means it is also useful for a very small database. अगर डेटा का साइज बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा तो ये भी मैनेज करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. So I hope this thing is very clear to you. So as per one explanation, 34 has been highlighted. What is the meaning of 34? A table above consists of 5 records. 34 is highlighted in the table as it represents a cell. So what is a cell? A cell is where a row and column intersects. So what does 34 represent? 34 represents the roll number of student named Sachin. Roll number of student named Sachin. So one entry inside this table, इस टेबल के अंदर सिंगल एंट्री को हम लोग सेल बोलते हैं, राइट? So as already stated, database is a collection of interrelated tables, right? तो हम लोग कुछ टेबल्स बनाएंगे, उनका अलग अलग नाम देंगे, एंड दोज टेबल्स विल हैव सम फॉर्म ऑफ अ रिलेशन विद ईच अदर. तो रिलेशनशिप बनता कैसे है? लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जांपल फॉर द सेम. कंसीडर दीज टू टेबल्स. This table can be, let me make a change into this table. This table can be considered as a student record table, and the table given at the bottom, let's just consider this to be a book issue record, यानी हमने जो बुक्स इशू की हुई हैं स्टूडेंट्स को, उसके रिकॉर्ड के बारे में ये टेबल है. So they both belong to the same database. And is there any relationship between the two tables? Yes. The student who is enrolled with the institute can issue a book, right? If any student goes to issue a book and he says, my roll number is 101, but there is no student in our record which has a roll number of 101, that naturally means we cannot issue the book to that student. The alternative concept is no dues. आप no dues कराते हैं. No dues का मतलब क्या है कि मेरा इंस्टीट्यूट को कुछ भी देना बाकी नहीं है. एक स्टूडेंट जब इंस्टीट्यूट को छोड़ता है तो वो अपने सर्टिफिकेट्स लेने के लिए, अपनी सिक्योरिटी लेने के लिए आता है, तो हम लोग उसकी स्टूडेंट रिकॉर्ड में से एंट्री रिमूव कर देते हैं. लेकिन एंट्री रिमूव करने से पहले हम बुक इशू रिकॉर्ड टेबल में उसके रोल नंबर के आगे देखेंगे कि क्या स्टूडेंट ने कोई बुक इशू करवाया है. If there is an entry for the student that this student has issued a book, then obviously we are not going to delete the entry. So this is how we see that the tables within the database are interrelated to each other. So एक institute is a very large database, so it can have sub databases also. Student related databases, employee related database, तो वो अलग अलग भी हो सकते हैं. But I hope that you are able to understand how these two tables are interrelated to each other. ठीक है. So let's move further. Some of the responsibilities that are performed by the database management system, I am just going to give you an overview of the same, but no explanation will be given for the same. What are the responsibilities of a database management system? It provides support for operations such as insert, update, delete, assess. जल्दी से जल्दी डेटा में एंट्री हो जाए, अगर किसी ने कहा मेरे को रिकॉर्ड चेंज करना है तो हो जाए, किसी की एंट्री डिलीट करनी है फटाफट से सर्च हो जाए ताकि मैं उसको डिलीट कर सकूं. प्रोवाइडिंग सिक्योरिटी, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है? सिक्योरिटी. अगर मेरा बैंक अकाउंट की डिटेल सिक्योर नहीं है तो मैं उस बैंक के साथ काम नहीं कर सकता हूं, राइट. मेंटेनिंग डेटा इंटेग्रिटी एंड कंसिस्टेंसी. अब मेरे अकाउंट में 200 रुपए है, मेरे ब्रदर के अकाउंट में 200 रुपए हैं, मैंने 50 रुपए निकाल के उसके अकाउंट में डाल दिए, मेरे अकाउंट में से 50 रुपए निकल गए लेकिन मेरे ब्रदर के अकाउंट में 50 रुपए नहीं गए, तो मैं ऐसे सिस्टम में काम नहीं कर सकता. डेटा इंटीग्रिटी, मैंने अपना फोन नंबर चेंज करवाया, वो एक जगह चेंज हो गया लेकिन बाकी जगह पर चेंज नहीं हुआ है. जब मैं वहां गया तो उन्होंने कहा कि गो टू द फर्स्ट ब्रांच, वो हमें कहेंगे तब हम चेंज करेंगे. दिस इज नॉट वर्किंग. डेटाबेस शुड बी हैविंग इंटेग्रिटी. जब मैंने एक जगह बोल दिया कि मेक चेंज माय फोन नंबर, इट शुड बी अवेलेबल थ्रू आउट द डेटाबेस. बैकअप. अब मेरा डेटा मेरे ऑफिस में पड़ा है, कल ऑफिस में सिस्टम क्रैश कर गया या मेरी बिल्डिंग कोलैप्स कर गई, मेरा डेटा कहाँ है? सारा का सारा गया. नो, बैकअप रखना जरूरी है. नेक्स्ट इज मेंटेनिंग द कैटलॉग एंड डायरेक्टरी ऑफ डेटाबेस ऑब्जेक्ट्स. all information, all data about the data, that should also be maintained. Then providing support for various user interface packages, राइट. तो डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, जैसे आप वेब डेवलपमेंट करते हैं, पीएचपी पे काम करते हैं, या आप किसी और सॉफ्टवेयर में काम कर रहे हैं, तो क्या आपका जो डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम है वो सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करता है दूसरे सॉफ्टवेयर या टूल्स के साथ काम करने के लिए? दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो लेट्स मूव फर्दर. Next is components of a database management system. Like I already said, that some of these things do not require too much of an explanation. So let us see what are the various components of a database management system. Hardware. Obviously, I need hardware. अगर मेरे पास हार्डवेयर ही नहीं है तो हाउ विल आई इम्प्लीमेंट द डेटाबेस? I need storage, I need processing, I need input devices, I need networking devices. फैसिलिटीज क्या होती हैं? फैसिलिटीज तो यही है ना कि मैं अपने डेटाबेस को कहीं से भी एक्सेस कर सकूं. Then you need to provide networking facilities as well, right? I am able to check the information from my home. I need dedicated storage devices, लार्ज डेटा सेव हो जाए. जब सर्चिंग करनी हो, प्रोसेसिंग करनी हो, आई अगेन नीड हाई एंड processing devices. So this means that a major component of a database management system is the hardware, which also includes the networking devices. Next is software. Obviously, your database management system in itself is a software that will manage everything about the data and provide all the सर्विसेज. सभी सर्विसेज भी उस डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम को ही प्रोवाइड करनी है, विच इन इटसेल्फ इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर. सो दैट कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सॉफ्टवेयर कैन बी अ वेब बेस्ड सॉफ्टवेयर which manages my data. Okay, so software will manage a set of rules, it will define certain procedures, it will provide me the security, backup, and everything. So every kind of a logical implementation will be implemented by the software. The third component is data. If I do not have data, then what's the point of building a database management system? जब मैंने हार्डवेयर लगा लिया, सॉफ्टवेयर डिजाइन कर लिया, देन द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज टू इंपोर्ट और इनपुट द डेटा. ये इंपोर्ट और इनपुट में क्या डिफरेंस है? व्हेन वी डेवलप अ न्यू सिस्टम फ्रॉम द वेरी स्क्रैच, फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग, then we start to input the data into our management system. ठीक है? Import क्या होता है? Sometimes our system is already in place, it is already running, and I have developed a database for that. So that means उससे पहले भी बहुत सारा डेटा अवेलेबल होगा मैन्युअली रजिस्टर्स में या किसी और डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम में उन्होंने रखा होगा. तो वो सारा का सारा मुझे इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा या बैक एंट्रीज करनी पड़ेंगी, सो दैट ऑल ऑफ दैट डेटा इज अवेलेबल. You must have heard of one software. Name is DigiLocker. I hope it is. So, what is a DigiLocker? DigiLocker is providing the support for all your documents, but those documents actually already exist. Now, what we are doing is we are importing those into your DigiLocker. Right. Similarly, there are many other types of packages and softwares in which the data may start from the scratch or it may be required to import the data. The next is procedures. These are very important. हमें procedures define करने पड़ेंगे कि how my database is actually going to work. For example, if somebody wants to see that how many books I have issued, then the student has the power to log into the system and check ki, okay, currently I have been issued 3 books. But can he make changes into it? The answer is no. Procedure does not allow it. अगर आपको उसके अंदर एंट्री करनी है या एक बुक को रिटर्न करना है, देन a user will be created by the name of library admin, and only that person within the procedure is defined that he can make the changes into the database related to the book issue or book return. All right, so procedures have been defined. How the fine will be computed, how the fine will be uh, collected, or how the relaxation in the fine can be given in case of a special chance or a unprecedented reason. So procedure will define that this is how the things are going to work. So these were the four components of the database management system. The last topic that we are going to do today is called data abstraction. Now what is an abstraction? Abstraction word को सबसे पहले समझना जरूरी है. Abstraction means hiding of the unnecessary details or providing a separation or interface between the layers. राइट. अगर आप एटीएम में जाते हैं, एटीएम में आपको अपने कार्ड डाला और आपने कहा मुझे 10,000 रुपया चाहिए, तो वो एक इंटरफेस है. उस इंटरफेस पे सिंपल से ऑप्शंस दिए होते हैं आपको. आपने उस सिंपल से ऑप्शंस पे क्लिक करके अपने पैसे विड्रॉ कर लेने हैं. अब आप नहीं जानते हैं कि हाउ दिस मशीन इज गोइंग टू एक्चुअली वर्क, वेयर द डेटा इज एक्चुअली बीइंग स्टोर्ड, how the things are being managed. But because you are a user who is going to directly interact with the machine, so that means you are only concerned with the external or the outer view of the system, right? आपको नहीं मालूम है कि कितने टेबल्स यूज किए होंगे इन्होंने मेरे डेटाबेस के अंदर, कैसे कनेक्शन बनाया होगा इन्होंने, कैसे स्टोर किया है मेरे डेटा को. But you are only seeing what is visible to you, and that is called the external view. So how many views are there uh, in which we divide your data management? That is something that we are going to study. Okay, so we have three types of levels. So these are the three levels in which we divide your data. One is called the conceptual schema. Oh, if we start from the top, one is called external schema, conceptual schema, and your physical schema. Okay, so what do we mean by these three schemas is what we are going to study. So once again, have a careful look at the figure as to how many schemas do we have. Okay, so first of all, let us try and understand what is the meaning of external or internal schema. The physical schema, also known as internal schema, represents the lowest level of abstraction. It deals with the description of how the raw data items are stored on the physical storage devices. तो जो आपका physical schema है, what does it deal with? So I have a physical schema. What does it deal with? It deals with how the data is stored on the disk. It is more close. ये please आप note कर सकते हैं. This level of schema requires a high degree of study related to you can say data structure and operating system. These two subjects. And moreover, you must already be aware that the data in a computer system is stored in the form of zeros and ones. If I say my name is Dinesh Gupta, my roll number is this and so much, ultimately what you will find in the computer system is information like this. Where does Dinesh Gupta end and where does the roll number start? How is the division maintained? Where will the data be stored? Everything is maintained by the schema that is called the physical schema. Okay, this schema is useful for the database application developers and database administrators. Okay, so this is about physical schema or the internal schema. The next is conceptual schema, which is also known as logical schema. This I have already discussed with you. This is the logical representation of data in the form of tables. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि आपने एक स्टूडेंट टेबल बनाया, एक बुक इशू टेबल बनाया, फिर आपने कोई और टेबल बनाया, और इस हर टेबल के अंदर हाउ मैनी attributes will be there and how many records are there. So this is the logical representation. Logical representation is in the form of a 2D table. लेकिन जो आपकी कंप्यूटर मेमोरी होती है, जो आपके सिस्टम की होती है, दैट इज linear in the nature, or it is single dimensional, and data is stored in the forms of zeros and ones. So data is not stored in the form of conceptual schema, lekin conceptual schema is very important for us to understand how the data is being managed. How the data is being stored is the responsibility of the physical schema, whereas how the data is logically divided into tables is the responsibility of the conceptual schema, right? And the last one is called your external schema. This is the schema which is related to the view schema. View schema means how does a user see it. तो अगर मेरे टेबल के अंदर लेट से 50 एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं, तो स्टूडेंट ने कहा कि आई वांट टू चेंज माय कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर, तो हो सकता है उस स्कीमा के अंदर सिर्फ उसको दो एट्रीब्यूट्स दिखाई दें, अपना रोल नंबर डालिए, फिर वो रोल नंबर फैच हो जाता है, फिर वो बोलता है कि यही है और अपना फोन नंबर चेंज कर लीजिए. सो एक्सटर्नल स्कीमा इज लिमिटेड एंड वी कैन हैव थाउजेंड्स ऑफ एक्सटर्नल स्कीमास. हर प्रोसेस के लिए अलग से schema बन सकता है. So with this we come to the end of today's lecture. In the next lecture, in case if you have any questions, you can ask me before the start of next lecture. Till then, take care.